Welcome to the Nourish to Thrive podcast, faith-forward, science-backed strategies for women who want more energy, less weight, and real answers. I'm your host, Tanya Pennington-Miller, a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and functional blood chemistry specialist with a master's degree in applied clinical nutrition. If you're tired of feeling dismissed by your doctor, confused by your labs, and stuck in survival mode, you're in the right place. Here, we simplify the science. We get to the root, and we anchor it all in truth, because God made your body to heal and thrive, not just survive. It just needs the right kind of support and less noise. Hello, my friend, and welcome back. If you've ever walked out of your doctor's office with quote unquote normal labs and being told everything looks great, and yet you're still gaining weight, like you can't lose a pound. You're exhausted, you're puffy, you're running on fumes, then this episode is for you. I can't tell you how many women come to me saying, my doctor says everything looks fine, but I don't feel fine. Maybe that's you. Your weight won't budge, no matter how clean you eat. You wake up tired, even after a full night of sleep. Your energy tanks halfway through your day. And your once sharp mind feels slow and scattered. And here's the thing, you know something's off. But most of the time, doctors aren't even running the right labs in the first place to tell the full story. They stop at the bare minimum. You might get a TSH for your thyroid. You might get a fasting glucose for your blood sugar. So of course, everything's going to come back normal. They're not even looking where the problem is. So today we're digging into why normal doesn't mean optimal, okay? And how conventional lab ranges are failing you, okay? And how you can start looking at your labs through a functional lens. So by the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly what to ask for, and you're going to feel a whole lot less crazy for trusting that inner knowing that something isn't right. Because you're not crazy, and your body isn't just making this up. It is signaling you. And I'm going to help you understand what it's saying. Okay, so let's talk about why this matters so much, especially if you're trying to lose weight or you just want to feel like yourself again. Lab ranges are not designed to tell you what thrives. Lab ranges are designed to catch disease. So your doctor is asking one question. Are you sick enough to medicate or to diagnose? What they're not asking is your metabolism actually working the way it should be? Are your hormones balanced enough for you to feel energized and focused and able to lose weight? And here's the thing, they almost never order a free T3, a reverse T3, fasting insulin, and certainly not a full cortisol pattern. So again, of course, everything comes back looking normal. They're not even checking where the problem is. And even when they do run those labs, the ranges are based on the average population. And let's be honest, the average population is not healthy. Most people are insulin resistant. They're inflamed. They're exhausted. They're gaining weight every year. So when you're told that you are quote unquote normal, all that really means is that you fit in with everyone else who is tired and frustrated and struggling. Why, thank you. So hear me clearly. When your doctor tells you that your labs are normal, that just means they are common. And this is exactly where women get dismissed. If you're not sick enough to cross that medical cutoff for a diagnosis, you're told you're fine. Even when you're dragging through your day, even when your energy tanks halfway through your afternoon, when your hair is thinning. Okay, no matter how clean you eat, the scale will not move. Okay, because you get stuck in this gray zone. It's this zone where your thyroid might be running too slow to burn fat, or your cortisol rhythm is, so out of whack that your body thinks it's under this constant stress where it's actually storing fat for survival. But you went to your doctor, and because your TSH is in range, or because your glucose isn't high enough to be called pre-diabetic, no one is going to connect the dots about what is going on. Functional health looks at that in between space, that gray zone where most women get stuck. And that's the good news because when you catch these patterns early before they actually spiral into something bigger, that's when real change can happen. This is where we can actually rebuild your metabolism. We can rebalance your hormones. We can get you back to feeling like you again. Now, I want to give you an example about a real life client, but this client represents so many of my clients. She came to me absolutely wiped out. She was eating clean, doing everything right, exercising every day, but the scale kept creeping up. Like she was barely making it through her workday. She was so tired. And then at night, she would get that wired feeling when she should actually be going to sleep. So her doctor did run a thyroid panel, just her TSH and her T4. Told her she was fine. But they never even checked the markers that actually tell you how well your metabolism is working. They didn't test a T3, a free T3, or a regular T3. And they certainly didn't retest a reverse T3. Okay. And of course, no one even considered testing her cortisol rhythm. Okay. Because in conventional medicine, unless you're suspected of something like Addison's or Cushing's disease, they're not going to test cortisol at all. Okay, so we dug a little bit deeper, and what we found is that her free T3, which is your active thyroid hormone that your cells actually use, was scraping the bottom of the range. And her reverse T3 was climbing. So I want to explain to you why this matters because this is huge. Okay. Reverse T3 is like this doppelganger of free T3. Okay. It looks almost identical to free T3. In fact, it attaches to the same receptor sites in your cells as free T3 does, but it doesn't do anything. It's literally blocking free T3 from getting in there. I want you to think of this like putting a fake key into a lock. Okay, once it's in there, the real key, which in this scenario would be your free T3, cannot get in. So even if you technically have enough thyroid hormone floating around, say you have enough free T3, your cells can't use it. Okay, and the result is a slowed metabolism, low energy. Okay, your body goes into this conservation mode. And this is something that almost no one in conventional medicine is checking. We also ran a functional cortisol panel. She was bottomed out. Okay, that explained why she felt wired at night and exhausted during the day. Okay, her stress response was literally flipped upside down, running on survival mode instead of a healthy daily diurnal rhythm. Okay, so if any of this sounds familiar to you, I want you to know that you are not crazy. No matter what your doctor has tried to tell you, your body is not working against you. It is actually protecting you. Okay, you just need someone who knows how to look in the right places and to speak your body's language. Okay, so I want to walk you now through 5 markers that I wish every woman had tested. Okay, because they can change everything about how you feel. And they explain why so many of you are frustrated, why you're gaining weight, and you're exhausted even though you're doing all the right things. Okay, so first let's start with the thyroid. Okay, your TSH might look perfectly fine. Conventional medicine will always run TSH, but that doesn't tell you how well your thyroid is actually working. Okay, TSH is just your brain tapping your thyroid on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, make some hormone." Okay, it doesn't tell us if the hormone that your thyroid is making is enough, or even if it is enough, is it actually getting into your cells and doing its job? Okay, even when doctors run T4, which they do sometimes, that still doesn't give us the full picture. T4 is the storage form of thyroid hormone. It's basically the raw material. Okay, it doesn't do anything by itself. Your body has to convert that T4 into free T3, which is our active thyroid hormone, in order for your cells to actually use it. Okay, free T3 is what drives energy production. Okay, it's going to drive fat burning, body temperature regulation, pretty much everything you can think of when you think of metabolism. Okay, I want you to get your free T3 tested. Okay, you can have a perfectly normal TSH and T4, but if you're not converting well into free T3, you're going to feel exhausted. You're going to experience hair thinning. You're going to be frustrated with your weight. Okay, I also want you to test your reverse T3. When it's elevated, it's often because your body is under stress. Could be physical stress, emotional stress. It could be from years of dieting, yo-yo dieting. Okay, your body's smart and it senses stress. It will actually start to divert T4 into reverse T3 instead of free T3 as a protective mechanism. It's basically your body saying, slow down, conserve energy, hold on to every calorie. Okay. If you're already under stress or dealing with poor conversion, adding more T4, like Synthroid, anybody heard of Synthroid? It can actually make things worse. And you're never told this. Synthroid is just T4. So if your body is in a stress conservation mode, it's going to keep shuttling that T4 that you're taking into more reverse T3 instead of converting it into free T3. So you can be taking medication every day and have normal labs and still feel exhausted because no one is looking at the full picture. This is why women with low free T3 and or high reverse T3 feel so awful. They're eating clean, they're working out, they're doing all the right things, but their metabolism has slowed to a crawl. Their energy is shot, and they just feel heavy and puffy. But you don't get this information from conventional medicine. The next one I want you to have tested is your ferritin. This is your body's stored form of iron. It's like your iron storage tank in your body. It tells us how much iron you have in reserve. Okay, and here's the problem. Most doctors won't test it. They usually only want to look at your hemoglobin and your hematocrit. And they will only order iron if those two things come back low. But I can't tell you how many women I've worked with who have actually had normal hemoglobin and hematocrit, yet their ferritin was low. And this matters because ferritin is often the first thing to drop when your iron levels are headed in the wrong direction. It's like your early warning sign that iron is going to run low, long before anemia ever shows up on a basic lab. Okay, by the time hemoglobin and hematocrit fall, you've usually been struggling with symptoms for a long time. Okay, and some of those symptoms might be hair thinning or losing hair by the handfuls in the shower. Could be brittle nails that might break or peel easily. You might be feeling cold all the time, even when everybody else around you is comfortable. And you might have that bone deep fatigue, the kind where like no amount of caffeine is going to touch it. And I see this constantly in women who are told their labs are fine, but they're dragging themselves through the day. Okay. And the kicker is that ferritin doesn't just impact your hair and your energy, it also plays a role in thyroid health. See, everything is connected. If your ferritin is too low, your body is now going to struggle to convert T4 into free T3 properly. Okay, slowing your metabolism even more. So if you are dealing with stubborn weight and fatigue, ferritin is one of the first markers I look at. Okay, and one of the most commonly overlooked in conventional medicine. Okay, and just as a side note, if your ferritin is low and you're not dealing with heavy cycles or you do eat plenty of iron-rich foods and nothing else seems to explain it, this sometimes can be a clue to dig even deeper. We might see things like gut infections, hidden bleeding in the GI tract, or even parasites. Okay, these can quietly drive chronic low-grade blood loss. Okay, or they can just mess with your iron absorption. It's not the first thing I jump to, But when ferritin just won't budge despite doing all the right things, it's definitely on my radar. Okay. The third thing is I want you to check your cortisol pattern, more specifically with a salivary panel. Okay, cortisol is your stress hormone. And here's the thing about it. Most doctors don't care much about it unless they suspect something extreme like Addison's or Cushing's disease. Okay, and even then, they'll usually just pull one blood test for cortisol. Okay, but that tells you almost nothing. It's like one snapshot. What really matters with cortisol is going to be your diurnal rhythm. Okay, when and how your body are releasing cortisol throughout the day. And this is why I use salivary cortisol testing because it measures multiple points across the day. Because it's not just about how much cortisol you have, it's about when your body is releasing it for you. Your cortisol should follow a natural rhythm where it's highest in the morning to get you up and moving. Okay. And then slowly throughout the day, it should be dropping so that you're calm and ready to sleep by bedtime. But what I see all the time in women that I work with who are exhausted and gaining weight and feeling off, their pattern is completely flip flopped, or they're just bottomed out. They're flatlined. And I've been there personally. If cortisol is low in the morning when you need energy, you're going to feel like you are just dragging yourself out of bed no matter how much you sleep. Okay. And if it's spiking at night, even just a little bit, when you're supposed to be winding down, you're going to feel wired. You're going to feel restless. You are going to be wide awake when you actually also feel tired at the same time. It's a terrible feeling. This is where that term tired but wired comes from. And then here's where it ties back to weight. When your cortisol rhythm is out of balance, your body gets stuck in this survival mode. High cortisol in the wrong times or opposite, chronically flatlined cortisol is going to tell your body to hold on to fat, especially around your midsection. This is a protective mechanism. Your body doesn't know that you're just stressed from juggling work or kids or dieting too hard, roller coaster dieting. It thinks you're in danger. So it's going to store fuel for later. So this is why I like to run a salivary panel over a standard blood test. With the serum, you're just getting that one snapshot of cortisol at a single moment in time. It's like taking one picture and trying to guess the whole movie from it. You just can't do it. Okay, the salivary panel is going to collect samples at multiple points throughout your day. So it's going to show your entire diurnal rhythm, how it's rising and falling across the day. Okay, that rhythm is going to tell us so much more about why you're feeling the way you feel. Okay, the next one, and this one gets missed constantly, but it's huge, is going to be your HSCRP. This is your high sensitivity C-reactive protein. Now, this one is technically considered a cardiovascular risk marker in conventional medicine because high levels correlate with this arterial inflammation and heart disease risk. But functionally, we also use it as a broader marker of systemic inflammation, okay, because it rises in response to inflammation anywhere in the body, not just the cardiovascular system. So it's like this window into how inflamed your body actually is overall. Okay, and the reason this matters is chronic low-grade inflammation doesn't just make you feel puffy or stiff. Okay, it does that, but it also disrupts your hormones, it slows your metabolism, it keeps your body holding on to weight, again, as a protective mechanism. When inflammation is high, your body shifts into this protect and repair mode. It's going to be less focused on burning fat. Okay, it's more focused on survival. Survival always wins. So again, this is going to mean a slower metabolism. This is going to mean more water retention. Your body holding on to fat, and again, especially belly fat. And you can feel it. If you wake up feeling stiff or swollen, if your rings feel tight even when you haven't had salty food, or you just feel puffy no matter what you weigh, inflammation is likely a part of the picture. And it also drives fatigue because your immune system is constantly on high alert. Okay, your body is burning through resources that should be going toward energy production, but it's not. Okay, This is one of the first markers I check for women who are just tired, who are experiencing the hair thinning, or just cannot lose weight. We need to see what's going on under the surface. Okay. And lastly, and this one might be the most overlooked of all, is your fasting insulin. Okay. Again, most doctors are going to run glucose. They might even run an A1C. But by the time those are high, insulin resistance has often been building for years. Okay. If we can get a fasting insulin, this is going to show us what's happening early on, long before you get a prediabetes or diabetes diagnosis. Okay. It's insulin's job to move sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells for energy. But when insulin stays high for too long, thanks to stress, poor sleep, too many processed carbs, or even just years of extreme dieting, okay, it's going to signal your body to store instead of burn. Okay, think of it like this. High insulin flips your body into a fat storage mode, even if you're eating clean and working out. Okay, your body is still getting the message of hold on to fat, don't let it go. It's one of the biggest culprits as to why women say, I'm doing everything right, but the scale won't budge. And you can feel it. Okay, it might show up as stubborn belly fat, again, especially around your midsection. Energy crashes after meals, cravings for carbs and sugar. Okay, and shamefully, fasting insulin is not a part of routine blood work. Okay, conventional medicine has no standard protocol for treating high insulin by itself. So they just don't test for it. It's that simple. They wait until your A1C climbs high enough to be labeled pre-diabetic or diabetic. Okay, then they can prescribe a medication like metformin. Okay, but catching it early before your A1C is elevated means that we can turn the ship around before it locks you into the fat storage, low energy cycle. Okay, so I want to give you some actionable takeaways here. Number one is going to be ask for better testing. So let's run through this list again. Here's what I recommend asking for if you want to get a clearer picture of what's going on. You want a full thyroid panel. You want TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, and I want you to get the thyroid antibodies, TPO and TG antibodies. Okay, again, the TSH alone just tells us that your brain is asking for hormone. It doesn't tell us if your thyroid is actually making enough. It doesn't tell us if you're converting enough T4 to free T3 properly. It doesn't tell us if reverse T3 is blocking your receptors. Okay, and the antibodies matter because they can catch thyroid autoimmunity, okay, like Hashimoto's, years before TSH is ever out of range. Okay, this can explain weight gain, can explain fatigue, brain fog, long before hypothyroid is a diagnosis by conventional standards. Okay, next I want you to ask for a ferritin. This is your iron storage tank. It's often the first marker to drop when iron is low. Okay, low ferritin can explain hair loss, can explain fatigue, feeling cold all the time, can explain poor thyroid conversion. So don't settle for just hemoglobin and hematocrit. Those can look normal for years while ferritin is decreasing. Okay. A salivary cortisol test. Again, a single blood draw is not going to tell you about anything with your stress rhythm. We want to look at the full diurnal pattern, how your cortisol rises and falls throughout the day. This is going to help us to see why you're exhausted in the morning, why you're wired at night, and why you're stuck in a fat storage mode. Okay, we need the fasting insulin, one of the earliest indicators of metabolic dysfunction. Okay. This is locking your body into fat storage mode. Okay. Remember this though. Most doctors never run this because there is no medication for high insulin alone. So you are going to get some pushback here, but it is one of the most important markers to catch early. Okay. And lastly, your HSCRP. Again, conventionally used as a cardiovascular risk marker, but functionally, it's going to tell us how inflamed your body is overall. Okay, chronic low grade inflammation is going to disrupt your hormones. It's going to slow your metabolism. It's going to make you feel puffy, stiff, tired. It's really important that we test this. And I really want to prepare you for this. Most doctors are going to push back if you ask for these markers that I just went through. They are trained to order labs only if it changes their treatment plan, okay, which usually means medication. And since there's no pharmaceutical fix for things like fasting insulin or slightly elevated reverse T3, they are going to downplay the importance of running these markers. And insurance usually is not going to cover these, which is another reason that they're not going to want to order them unless you already have a diagnosis. So their hands are tied also. But that doesn't mean you're out of options. Okay, this is exactly what I do as a functional practitioner. I look at these markers together with your symptoms so that we can find the root cause. Okay, we don't just wait until things get bad enough for a diagnosis. So, whether you're working with myself or another practitioner who's trained in functional interpretation, know that there are people who will take your concerns seriously and connect the dots for you. Okay, I also want you to track your symptoms. Your labs are just one piece of the puzzle. Your story matters just as much. Okay, the way you feel day to day is incredibly valuable data. That is what is going to help us connect the dots in ways that a single lab number never will. So I want you to start paying attention and writing things down. Like, are you crashing after meals or are you needing caffeine every afternoon just to function? Are you losing hair in the shower or just noticing a general thinning around your hairline, kind of up in the front? Do you feel cold all the time when everybody else is comfortable? Are you waking up stiff or puffy? Are you dealing with mood swings, anxiety, irritability, anything that just feels out of character for you? Do you struggle with headaches, nausea, really kind of for no reason at all? Insomnia, restless sleep? Are you getting cold sores more often? Okay, write these things down. What you're feeling, when it happens, and even what might trigger it if you think you might be able to pinpoint it. Okay, patterns start to show up really quickly when you track this way. And when we pair those symptoms with the right labs, the whole picture finally starts to make sense. Okay, and number three, I want you to work with someone who looks beyond normal. If you've been told everything looks fine, but you're still exhausted, you're still gaining weight, you're just not feeling like yourself, it's time to work with someone who looks at optimal ranges and not just diagnostic cutoffs. Remember, conventional medicine is designed to catch disease, not to help you feel your best. This is why you're often told that you're fine until your thyroid completely fails or until your A1C is high enough to be labeled pre-diabetic or even worse, diabetic, or until your ferritin is low enough to be considered anemia. By the time you reach those cutoffs, you've likely been feeling awful for years. Okay, functional interpretation changes everything. Instead of waiting for you to get sick enough for a diagnosis, we look at the gray zones where your body is starting to struggle. The places where you're tired, you're inflamed, you're gaining weight, you're dealing with brain fog long before it ever shows up as disease. This is exactly what I do as a functional practitioner. My job is to connect the dots between your labs and your symptoms to explain what's really happening in your body and to help you address it before it gets worse. But here is the honest truth. You have to be your own advocate. Most medical doctors are not trained in this type of functional interpretation. And honestly, it's not fair to expect them to be. Their job is to screen for and manage disease, not to optimize your metabolism, not to balance your hormones or to help you troubleshoot your chronic fatigue. And yes, sometimes this kind of help is not going to be covered under insurance. But you have to ask yourself, what's the cost of staying stuck? Your energy? Your confidence? Your ability to show up fully in your life? Aren't those worth investing in? You deserve someone who will listen to you, who will look deeper, and never send you home with, "You're fine," when you know you are not. God designed your body with wisdom. It's not betraying you. It's signaling you. Every symptom you're feeling, whether it's fatigue, weight gain, hair loss, brain fog, it isn't your body fighting against you. It's your body asking for help, doing exactly what God designed it to do, to protect you when something's out of balance. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7 says, "The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding." And that's what we're doing here. We're seeking understanding so you can steward your body well and get back to feeling like yourself again. And here's the hope in all of this. You are not stuck this way. The same God who knit you together with such incredible detail also gave you the ability to heal when you give your body the right support. And your job isn't to fight your body into submission. Quite literally the opposite. It's to listen to it, to honor the way he designed it, and to care for it with wisdom. So don't lose heart in your journey. Every step you take to understand these signals and to support your body is a step toward energy, toward clarity, and the life that he's called you to live. If this episode hits home, please don't settle for being told you're normal when you know you don't feel normal. You deserve answers. And you deserve to feel like yourself again. This is exactly what I do to help women inside my programs, looking at your labs and your symptoms the way they were meant to be understood. Connecting the dots that no one else is connecting. And helping you finally support your body the way it's asking to be supported. If you're ready to take the next step or you just want to learn more, come connect with me on Instagram, Tanya.Pennington.Miller, or come to my website, nourishtothrive.com. You don't have to figure this out alone. There's hope. There is a way forward. And I'll see you next week. That's it for today on the Nourish to Thrive podcast. If you found value here, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or send it to someone who's walking a similar path. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, and know that healing is possible, especially when you trust the one who designed your body to heal. Until next time, stay rooted in truth and nourished in grace.